We went out there and we caught a bunch of flatheads, and we were coming back. We had a cooler full of fish on one side. Had me, my brother, and two buddies, and they were we had a gun box on the left side of the boat, and we hit one of them turns, and when we did, that boat just went completely over. It kind of hooked, and when it did, it just completely turned over.
So it dumped everybody out, fish,
everybody
and everything?
out. Yeah, fish. Everything went everywhere. And after that, we were like, we've got to come up with some type of, we do crazy stuff out here. After that happened, probably a day later, we were like, we got to come up with a name. We were thinking about Rowdy Flippers because, young Dawson.
Yeah.
Young Dawson, Memphis. So we were thinking about flippers. We were like, no, I think Creek sounds good. So we came up with Rowdy Creek.
Hey, welcome back to Buck Junkies. Today on the podcast, I got a couple of guests in here with me. I got Noah Sheffield from Rowdy Creek, and I got Caleb Smith from Circle S Machine. Hey, all right. How you guys doing?
Pretty good.
Pretty good. And I also got Will Dyer in here with me. Will's got a few questions for these guys he wanted answered, so we'll let Will sit in with us today, and we're just going to get right into it. So, Noah, Will kind of put me on y'all and had me looking at y'all stuff and looking at what y'all do. But I guess, kind of to start out, what is like Rowdy Creek?
So Rowdy Creek, when we started, it was kind of a hunting page, Yeah. We did pretty much like all the hunting pages do, go out, kind of film some hunting and stuff. And we proud ourselves on being different and kind of, trying to do something that other people don't do.
Yeah.
And so we saw that there wasn't a big content creator with doing sandbar races, messing with old two-stroke motors and kind of following the content of doing stuff like that. So we ended up kind of going to a couple of events. I've got our main motor builder is Taylor Hughes, and got linked up with him, and ever since then, we've been racing, building motors. He does all the turf work, all the fancy stuff to our boats, and that's pretty much what it's built up into.
So for somebody that doesn't know, what is a sandbar race?
The sandbar race, there's a bunch of different racing clubs.
Yeah.
Sandbar racing is completely different. There's no scales, so it's pretty much run what you brung a lot of times. So you go out there, and we'll normally do a couple classes. Like you'll have a 130-pound class, which is pretty much your hunt boat class.
Yeah.
You'll do pump gas in that class, stock gears, all that stuff. And then you'll move up to like an outlaw class or a hunt boat outlaw class to where no nitrous, none of that stuff. But it's kind of you got higher compression, You're running a little bit faster. Then you got to run what you brung type class. And it's, you come out there and hope you got enough.
Just hope you got enough. And anybody can get in that class. So,
Yep,
I mean, that's
anybody.
It's just like you draw whoever you draw.
We are mainly 3-cylinder guys.
Yeah.
We have a couple guys that are venture off in the big 2.5 and stuff like that. But we're normally 3-cylinder only. But we enjoy watching all boats race and stuff. But that's normally what we do.
So, I mean, you kind of answered how this all got started, but is there anything you would like to elaborate on? Like who all, like when you started doing this, like how did you just kind of come up with the idea of starting this out?
Actually out there on Coldwater River. Down the road. And I had an old War Eagle Gladiator with a 40 4-stroke on it. And we were out there running lines. And I want to say we had like 4 or 5 people in the boat. And we had a couple river sodas, and I had 3 people on one side of the boat, and man, we did that stuff. We'd go out there overnight and kind of run poles, go out to the sandbar, out all night type deal. But that particular day, we went out there and we caught a bunch of flatheads, and we were coming back. We had a cooler full of fish on one side. Had me, my brother, and 2 buddies. And we had a gun box on the left side of the boat. And we hit one of them turns. And when we did, that boat just went completely over. It kind of hooked. And when it did, it just completely turned over.
So it dumped everybody out?
Dumped
fish
everybody
and everything?
out. Fish. Everything went everywhere. And after that, we were like, we've got to come up with some type of, like we do crazy stuff out here. And so that's how after that happened, probably a day later, we were like, we got to come up with a name. We were thinking about Rowdy Flippers because, young Dawson, Memphis. So we were thinking about Flippers. We were like, no, I think Creek sounds good. And so we came up with Rowdy Creek. Ever since then, the content has blown up. My old lady, Lauren, she does most of the photography and stuff like that. And she does a very good job with all that stuff and editing and all that stuff. So she's really helped us out a lot.
Yeah, I've seen a lot of y'all's stuff, and she's doing a fine job. It looks really good and clean.
Yes, sir.
But that was what I was going to ask you. I was like, how y'all come up with that? So from there, I guess, after the boat deal or whatever, y'all come up with the name. Did y'all just like jump into boat racing there, or is that just kind of came about afterwards?
So that happened, I'd say probably 6 months down the line. That Warrior Gladiator is what's the weight on that rig, you think?
Heavy.
Twice
the weight of being
and we were going to all these events, the Caddo events, and we were enjoying all that, and we were just tired of being slow. I mean, that boat's probably going 30 mile an hour, 28 mile an hour. And it just got boring. I mean, it was a nice rig, it did its purpose.
That's right.
And but we were like, man, we want to go fast. We want to kind of cover some going fast content and stuff like that. So we ended up getting into performance holes, and we've done a couple of different holes and stuff, and it pretty much ever since then we've just been testing all the boats and enjoying it.
So I'm trying not to get too far out ahead of myself because I do have some questions there for you, but you're talking about performance holes. I mean, compared to just say a War Eagle boat or, a duck boat or a fishing boat or something, something that just the average, I'm sure the average consumer probably buy the stuff that y'all are getting, but the guy that goes out to Bass Pro Shop or something like that to buy a boat, how big of a difference is those?
So my background started out with duck boats and stuff, and kind of the cheaper, an Express, the boats that are not really a performance boat. And I was kind of like you, I don't know what the difference is. Is this a real thing? Are these boats really going to run better than a flat bottom John boat? I was like, I put enough horsepower on it, we'll make anything run.
That's right.
But there is a lot to do with how the hull is designed, and bass boat manufacturers figured it out in the 80s and 90s how to make a boat run fast and how to make it turn and how to make it lift. And it took aluminum boat manufacturers a little while to kind of get on board with that and make a steep enough V or put a pad on one or lifting streaks, whatever. There's a bunch of different ways that you can make a boat run better.
Yeah.
And these performance boat manufacturers have really done a good job at that. And whether it's a Havoc, a Reaper, an Edge, all of them have their own little quirks and own little, this one may be tougher, this one may be lighter, this one may ride better. Everybody has a different opinion on that, but there is a difference in the boat, in how the boat's made as far as just versus a regular flat bottom or a straight V bottom boat.
Yeah, because you probably don't want to take, y'all correct me if I'm wrong, but if you take a performance boat and you do a bunch of log hopping with it, is it going to tear it to pieces? Yeah. That's kind of what I was, because you see those guys with the duck boats with the tiller, the whatever they are, the mud buddies and all that stuff, and they're getting some pretty rugged stuff trying to get back in some of these holes, and you take that performance hole in there, that's probably not where you want to be at with that thing.
There is some crossover there. That they have made mud holes perform better. They've kind of built them around mud motors to really tweak them to be a tougher boat, but then also still be able to run well.
Yeah.
So there are some boats. Some people just put a mud motor on the lightest boat that they can, and the thought process there is that if it's light enough, it's just going to bounce off of it rather than hit it and dent it.
Yeah.
And so, just different thought process on what they want to do.
So I guess you kind of answered this a minute ago about the different classes of of boats. So what is the, not the lowest class, but the slowest class, I guess is what and is that the cheapest class that you can, like, if you was going to start out?
So
No.
I mean, you're looking at some money in any.
Right.
I mean, them guys in them sportsman's boats are.
Yeah, they
money into them too.
So there's several different organizations. There was most everything was in Louisiana for a long time.
Yeah.
There was an organization. There still is an organization that runs a bunch of races in Louisiana, and that's kind of where I got my start. I was for a long time just going to the races and enjoying being there. And they've got several different classes of both aluminum boat, tiller handle classes, and some glass boat classes. And so their lowest class would be called the sportsman's class.
Yeah.
And it's basically made for a stock motor or a mildly built motor. They've got weight restrictions. They've got gear restrictions. They've got compression restrictions, different things that you can and can't do to the motor or can and can't do with the electronics and stuff like that tries to equalize the field. They started that to try and be I'm going to say entry-level class, but I mean, it quickly became like some of your motor builders would find somebody that wanted to go fast, and so they'd build them the baddest motor they could to put in that class. So there's still some money in it.
Yeah.
And you'll find that in any racing organization, whether it's an aluminum boat class, whether it's the big boats, anything like that, there's always a entry-level class, but some people use it as entry level, and some people like, hey, I really want to just do this. Like I want to race my boat that I take to the water every weekend. I don't want to have a designated race boat for
that would be me. I want my boat. If I'm gonna go fishing or whatever, I don't care if win or lose. I still want to go out there and just see when where my boat prepared to somebody else. But
that's the biggest class because of what you're saying right now.
Yeah.
It's the people that want to take their boat out fishing, hunting, all that stuff, and be able to run pump gas in it, not have to worry about high compression or blowing your motor up when you're out there. And so you'll have more people in that class. So it's one of those classes when we run an event, that's the class that takes the longest to run because there's a lot of people in that class.
But there's a bunch of trash talking in that class, isn't it? I'm sure it is in all of them, but
it's bad in all of them. All of them.
Yeah. I would feel bad if I built a boat and come out there and some guy just, showed up with this, grandpa's old boat that he pulled out of the shed and just whipped my tail pretty good. I don't spent $20,000, $30,000, $40,000 on a boat, and here this guy comes with this. Daggone.
100%.
That happens. I mean, there's in every racing organization, there's somebody that, it's like, man, what is this guy gonna do? And then he shows up, and sometimes they're good, sometimes they're not. It just, it depends.
So, I said I didn't want to offend any of your listeners and stuff like that, but, your slower class was, I guess, like the sportsman's class, but, and from there, I mean, what is there?
We have a 4-stroke class, and that would technically probably be your slowest. What do you think, Caleb?
That is going to be your slowest, just because in that class there's not really anything you can do to a motor. It's going to be my Mercury 60 is the same Mercury 60 as yours, and your Tohatsu 50 is the same as his Tohatsu 50. Yeah. And it comes down to who's got the best setup, who's got the best propeller, who has spent the most time in their boat. And so the 4-stroke class would be the slowest class, and it has started to pick up a little bit, but it has taken a little while to get it going. But I guess technically that would probably be the cheapest way to do it, but you're getting a brand new, I'm not going to say brand new motor, but you're using a motor that is still available to go to any of your dealer and
you don't have to go to
today.
A builder and get it built.
I got you.
You could go somewhere, pick it up, and go race that same day.
So if you race in that class, is there a size restriction on the motor, or is it all 40, or is it
like normally we do what 70s?
It's a 3 or 4 cylinder motor is what generally the 4-strokes are, like Tohatsu 40, 50, 60. All those are 3-cylinder motors. Mm-hmm. In Mercury, the 40, nobody really races it. It's a 3-cylinder motor. But then the 50 and 60, 4-cylinder, and then with Yamaha 50, 60, and 70.
Okay.
And the 50, 60, 70 are all the same power head, just some different tuning basically and different lower units.
So if you show up in that class, in that 4-stroke class you were talking about, if you So you can have a 40 and you're racing somebody's got a 60. That okay.
Now we do have. See, that class is kind of hard. Well, I mean, that one for Sandbar racing, it can get a little tough because you do have somebody with an F70 Yamaha racing somebody that might have a 40 Mercury or something.
Yeah.
So that would be when like a weighted type of organization would best come into effect.
Yeah.
Sandbar racing is kind of tough to kind of control that, but yeah, it could get a little tough at a Sandbar race doing it like that.
It really gets into then of, oh, I'm not racing him. I've got a 40. And whereas at a sanctioned event, it would be, all right, a 40's got to weigh X. Or this, you know, a Tohatsu 40, 50, 60, because they're all the same cubic inch. They've all got to weigh this. And then a Mercury Yamaha 40, 50, 60, or 50, 60, 70 are the same cubic inches, and so they've got to weigh this. And so they do, at sanctioned events, they do have different weight brackets a lot of times.
But unsanctioned, you just
run what you bring.
Run what you bring.
Well, we have classes, and we tech the classes, but we don't do it as much as a lot of the sanction, like the ones that are all put together and stuff.
Yeah.
We kind of do the basics, but it's hard once you get into all that stuff and you got a bunch of drunk people over here. Kind of, it's one of those ordeals where it's kind of best to do like the normal stuff teching wise, but other than that, it's pretty much run what you brung.
On a Sandbar, you're real limited what you can tech. You can tech compression. You can look at, you know, make sure that they're not running fast trim. There's certain things that you can do that that you can tech, but you know nobody's going to bring a crane out to the Sandbar for us to weigh your boat.
All right. So that was 2 classes. Is there a 3rd or 4th class of those boats? You know, as it goes up like more advanced, like
there's a ton of classes. The one that I'm normally in would be either a 150 compression class, which is 150 pound max compression. It's a step up, I guess, from Sportsman's.
Okay.
So Sportsman's is normally a 120 to, I think isn't it 120?
It's stock compression is what it's meant to be. So when you start building motors, you can, there's different things that can be done, and one of them is add compression. Different motors have that done different ways, but the point of the Sportsman's class was for people to not have a compression motor.
Yeah.
And for a long time, the compression motors were like big hush, like, oh, he's got a compression motor. It was a big deal. But now everybody that's having motors built's getting, you know, having compression added to it in some way.
Yeah.
And so the Sportsman class doesn't allow that in most organizations, and different motors did come from the factory with different compressions. So you're not, the technical term is an unaltered combustion chamber.
Okay.
So, and then the 130 class, that is a little bit of a bump in compression. And then the 150 class that Noah's talking about, that is definitely, then not many motors came. I don't know of any that came with that much compression from the factory. And so they're definitely an altered combustion chamber.
So the 150 is pretty much a mix between, I guess, Sportsman's and a modified or outlaw class. So you still kind of have some slight rules, as in you got to have 150 pounds, nothing more than 150 pounds of compression. You can have fast trim in that class, but there's still some rules that are kind of, you've got a little bit more rules.
Yeah.
And then modified class. So modified class is no nitrous, and you can pretty much do anything else other than that for most of the class, and it has to be a John boat class for the John boat ordeal.
Yeah.
And then you have a Mod 90 class, I believe is what you run, correct?
Yeah.
He runs alley shots in the fiberglass boats, and was it DSRA?
Yeah, there's a couple different organizations. These boats you don't really want, like my boat's not something that I'm going to take to Sardis and go play around in.
Right.
It is a race boat now. In the higher organizations, we're the small guys in that class.
So you're in the boat, and I've seen this on the video. You're in the one that's got the windshield. You're sitting down in it. It looks like a like an Indy car or something like that. With boat.
It's a 1-seater. I mean, it's strictly. I mean, if I didn't have so much done to my motor, I could go and ride it on the river, but it doesn't have a charging system on it or anything like that. So it's going to run until my battery dies, and then it's not going to run anymore.
Then you just float.
Right. So it's got to run the ignition and everything. So, but there's a DSRA is one of the organizations. SODA is another one. There's a ODBA. There's several, but there's none that run around here. They're all in Louisiana, Texas, Alabama, Florida. There's some up in Tennessee, and it seems like every race is at least 6 hours for me to get to. So it's not something that local people really can enjoy right now, but we are trying to move some events.
And you're still talking about an outboard motor.
Correct.
You're not talking about like the jet boats and things like that.
He's racing the same motor that I'm racing with the tiller, but with a steering
wheel.
So.
Okay. All right. Well, yeah, I was sitting there, I was watching all those videos, and, me not being very educated on what y'all are doing, the different classes stuff. I watched a lot of racing when I was a kid, and I had family that raced, drag cars and stuff, so understand classes and things like that. But as far as like y'all's, I was like, man, how do they break that down? And how do you, if you show up to a race, I don't even know what I got. I just back up there, and one of y'all got to tell me, like, oh, well, Mikey, you're over here into this group over here.
Right.
Yeah.
But anyways, Will, do you have a question?
If somebody was going to like start out and race for the first time, what hull and motor would you recommend?
Strictly race, or you?
Just for strictly racing.
Personally, I would go with the Mod 40 if you were just going to strictly race that hole. Now, I know some guys that have RDBSTs and that they do really good as well, but and those Mod 40s are hard to beat with an aluminum rig.
All right, RBS. What did you say?
RDBST.
RDBST.
So they've all got, every manufacturer's got their own way of titling stuff. So with Havoc, the RDBST is, I think it's Raptor Duck Boat or Racing Duck Boat or something like that. Okay. And so the RDBST is what he was referring to, and then the Mod 40 is a modified version of that. It's just a little bit lighter, and right now it is the lightest production performance hull on the market.
Okay. Yeah, I was you was going at it over there, and I was like, man, I don't know what the hell he's talking about. I don't know what an RDBST is. But anyway.
The RDBST is a 100 gauge hole with 90 gauge or 80 gauge interior.
I'm not sure.
Don't mark me on this. I believe 90 gauge interior, and it has a subfloor in the front. The Mod 40 has a subfloor in the front as well, but it has a floor in the bottom part of the hole. The Mod 40 has one that is removable. It's a mesh ordeal to where I believe they're 17, 20 pounds. You can remove that. So there's a lot more that you can do with the Mod 40s. And the Mod 40s are 80 gauge aluminum with, I believe, 80 gauge interior, maybe 063. But they're a whole lot lighter. But RDBST, if you were personally, if I was a sportsman's guy running, just going kind of racing, is going to be the restricted class, what you hunt and go out fishing and stuff in. I personally would probably get an RDBST just because you can race
tougher.
It. Yeah, it's a tougher hole. And, you can be able to go out there, hunt, fish, and be able to go race. But if you were just strictly wanting to race aluminum boats, I would 100% go with the Mod 40.
And you said Havoc makes that boat?
Yes, sir.
Well, so I guess I'm assuming I know the answer to this, just from listening to what you're saying now, but because I was curious, like evidently y'all not really hunting and fishing out of the same boats you're racing.
It depends. I mean,
you can, but
we could. It has nothing to do with the hole. Let's put it that way. It has everything to do with the work that we put into the hole. So Like I said, if we took everything, all the performance stuff for the motor and for the fuel and electronics and all that stuff, took all that stuff out, then 100% we could hunt the whole. But it's more of what we put into it for racing. The reason we don't hunt it, I guess, is the best way to explain it.
Yeah, it's I mean, you take a production hull and then you're gonna look at the bottom of it. You're gonna make sure the bottom's perfect. You're gonna, if there's any little imperfections, you're gonna do everything you can. I mean, you're trying to get that hull as perfect as you can if you're trying to compete. And I mean, there's a lot of guys that just take it and it's like, I'm not doing anything this weekend. I'm gonna go see where I stack up, and I'm gonna go and you run the same gas and so it's just different, and we absolutely can ride them on the river, but you may not have a charging system, and you may have to run expensive fuel. You can't just go to the gas station and run pump gas. So that's mainly the reason why people don't really want to run their race boat if they have a designated race boat. Whereas if you got like a regular boat and a regular motor, you can go run it, but you're not going to be up in the higher end classes. And there's some guys that just are like, screw it, and I'm gonna go run nets in the same boat and same motor that I'm racing next weekend. So
there's people 100% that do it.
Yeah,
100%.
So I guess when you just talking about the bottom of the hull, I've owned a couple of little small fishing boats and stuff like that. And of course, the bottom of them things are just jacked up. So when y'all talking about the bottom of the hull being, I guess symmetrical or not having those dents in it, that's causing drag on the boat to slow you down,
right?
And it's that technical.
Yep.
And can you tell a difference? I mean, if you've ever, I know y'all can probably tell a difference in the hull dragging,
right? So think about like if you go and you get your tires balanced on your car, versus not having your tires balanced or having a tire that's out of balance. Well, if you've only ever driven a car that doesn't have tires balanced on it,
you're not gonna know.
You're not. I mean, it's going to be a little bit of a difference, but it's not like a huge difference. But as you start driving more and more of them, and a lot of people don't ever touch the bottom of the boat. I mean, it depends on how somebody wants to really start perfecting what they're doing. And if you're trying to get serious about it, you got to pay attention to a lot of little things that stack up to make a big difference.
So I guess another question I got is, if you're going, just say you're going to run the class that you're in, do you go look for like a new motor, or do you find you search for like an older motor, that's been laying around and that?
Well, they don't make the motors anymore.
Really?
So all of them
are
right. All the 2-stroke motors quit making in 2008, 2009. And so everything that you're getting is older than that. And so for the guys that run Yamaha 90s, that's what I run. That's what Noah runs. There are two different kinds of electronics, and the boats with old style electronics, they're even older than that. I don't know the years that the old style electronics went out and the new style came in, but you're limited as to how you can modify the electronics on a new style system because it automatically adds timing. And there's nothing you can do about it. I think maybe I don't know too much about the new style electronics because everything I always ran was old style, but then that puts you into looking for even an older motor.
So y'all always keeping your eye open for something sitting in somebody's carport or whatever,
100%.
You see them on Facebook and you jump. I got an uncle up in Jackson, Tennessee, and I found a motor the other day. I was like, hey, I need you to go get this motor. Okay, no problem. So, I mean, we buy them I'm always looking on Facebook Marketplace trying to find them, and there's a handful of different motors that I know that either whether it's blown up, I know who to send it to get it rebuilt or, whatever. And then also for, I'm racing them. So, you're going to blow up engines, and you always want to have spare parts, whatever you need.
Okay. Is there a unicorn of motors that you're looking for out there that's like a rare thing that?
One that I've always got my eye out for is a Yamaha 25 3-cylinder. I've accumulated quite a few of them because a lot of times the lower unit is what's bad on those, and they don't make the lower unit anymore. If you can find a lower unit, a lot of times you pay way more than you'd want to pay for a whole motor just for the lower unit. And so if I find a motor that's got a good lower unit on it, I'll buy that one. But any Yamaha 25 3-cylinder, not many people run the 40s and 50s. They're still good motors, but they're a smaller cubic inch. The Yamaha 90, not many people run the 60s and 70s because they've got a bigger lower unit. The Mercury 40, 50, 60s, 3-cylinder 40, 50, 60s. That's what I'm always looking for. That's pretty much what anybody racing runs in some weather, depending on what class it is.
So where do we go when we run out of motors to find?
We're gonna start playing with some 4-strokes and start figuring out how we make it.
They don't make them no more. No. So if you run out, what do we do?
Hey, I blew one up this weekend that had been welded probably 2 times, and I blew it up right between where both times it's been welded up. So weld them up and blow them up, weld them up, blow them up.
And that's where you come in.
I don't really like welding on cast, and because there's, again, when you get into racing, you're trying to do everything 100% right, and some people don't think anything about it, and there may not be anything to it. It's just OCD says that's not supposed to work. Now I will. If I'm in a bind, I'll weld one of mine up, or I'll weld some up for somebody else. But it's like, man, this thing's got tail light warranty. I guarantee it's together when it leaves. After that, you're on your own.
Well, so when y'all are racing, y'all do sandbar racing, which is it's more like like a drag race. Do y'all ever have like races where you do like almost like not really a road course, but just like
poker run ordeal?
Yeah, something like that.
We do poker runs. We actually had one this past weekend. We actually have one coming up July 5th on Tunica Cutoff or Tunica Lake, and that one's for all the proceeds and stuff will be going to St. Jude, and we have a Havoc boat we're giving away. It's going to have a motor and trailer on it. The poker runs are really fun because everybody can come out there and enjoy it. That one, it's all the proceeds, like I said, are going to St. Jude. So it's one that you can really get behind. Everybody can come out there. There's no stress or no drama. There's a little bit of stress in putting the event together and everything, but, it makes everything go a lot smoother when you're supporting a good cause like that. Cause, everybody comes in with the mindset of, we're here for a bigger reason than ourselves ordeal,
That's right.
So those events are really fun to do, and the poker run, how we do it is Connor Matthews has all these houseboats and stuff at Tunica Cutoff.
Yeah,
and we'll go. There will be 4 stops, and you go out there and you pick a card, and you go to the next one. You don't have to have a fast boat. It doesn't matter how fast it is, how slow it is. You go out there. It's more for fun. You come back, and whoever has the best hand, wins. So. We have events like that too, and those are really fun. Those are more of your relaxing events. There's no worrying about blowing your motor up, or some guys, I'm sure they have that chance out there. But
you get enough rednecks in a boat, no matter what you're doing, it's going to be a race.
Oh yeah, that's right. That's right.
Yeah.
But have y'all ever raced like actually in a river?
So you're talking about like a course or a track or something.
Best time.
Yeah. So there's not anything that's like sanctioned. Australia does what they call the dinghy derby, and I'm sure you've seen the videos where there's 2 guys in a boat, and they're in like a little 12-foot boat, usually running a Yamaha 25.
Yeah.
And they're just going 40, 50 miles an hour through a ditch.
Yeah.
And so there's not really anything around here like that. And there was an event for a couple of years called the Hole Runner in Batesville, Arkansas, that it was 108 miles. It was down the Black River and then up the White River. And so it was a whole lot of twists and turns, and it was a time trial that they released that they would, they started everybody at, they broke it up into different classes, and they started this class at 9:15, and everybody left at 9:15, and then they sent this class at 9:30, and then they sent this class, and so everybody ended up. The goal was to try to get everybody to come in at about the same time, but sometimes that worked out, sometimes it didn't. But it kind of sucked for that because if the fastest boats they let go last, and so the fastest boats had to pass everybody's
Everybody,
lower.
yeah.
Right.
No fun.
So, and you're passing them in a small river. I mean, it's not.
Yeah.
It's not real fun. That becomes a motor builder contest because
that's right.
Who can keep one together? Because however many boats there are that start that race, there will not be that many that finish that.
That's right.
And so they don't do that event anymore. But that was the closest that I'm aware of to something like that.
Yeah, I would be the guy that broke down like midways. It'd be just float back to the start line because my crap tore up.
Well, so the bad thing,
something and busted a prop.
The bad thing is you put in and you go down a river to get into another river, and then you run up the river. And so no matter what, you're running away, or you're running away from this. You're running down the river.
Okay, yes.
And so you're not going to float back. You're going to float this way, and then you're not going to end up at the other one because it's running upriver. So.
I was just thinking about that because I'd seen y'all's, videos and things like that. Y'all, I was like, man, I wonder if they've ever, run like a river course or something like that where it was.
There's been discussions of it. There's been people that have tried to figure out a place. But the problem is you got to have law enforcement on your side with it.
Yeah.
And, some places it's really difficult to get that to happen. Other places we go, like with the glass boat stuff, law enforcement's in the water and they've got the river shut down, and I mean they're out there, and if you need a tow in, if you break down, whatever, they tow you back. I mean, so it really just depends on where you're at and finding a place that, I mean, when you start doing turns and all that, it's gonna get dangerous, and finding somewhere that is either private, that the landowner is okay with that, or public and the law enforcement is okay with that, can be an issue.
So how many races do each one of y'all run? Different amount of races? Y'all pretty much the same ones all the time, or?
He's in a completely different class. Right. Right now, there's only one organization really for as far as sanctioned events. There's only one organization that has his boats and my boats both in the same class, even though we're running the same or in the same event. Yeah. Even though we're running the same motors, it's there's not really anywhere that we can run together. Just because there's not a huge participation of glass boats, definitely not in North Mississippi.
Yeah.
Now you go to Louisiana and there's a ton of glass boats, or Texas, so all the races that I go to are all south of here.
Yeah.
And whereas the aluminum boats are a little bit more prevalent in this area.
So how many do you see in a year around here, or within events, a few hours?
Like races. Let's see, AOF has 6 races a year. DBA, which is a South Carolina race group of guys, they do 4 classes. This Arkansas Tiller Handle events, there'll be 4 of those. We host 2, the Caddo one and the Lake Washington one. So, I mean, you're looking at probably roughly 10-ish events.
Okay. And about the same, is it the same crowds at all of them, or is it you see a lot of different people at those?
There's kind of a group that kind of travels and follows the racing circuit, whether they actually race or whether they've got a son or, a family member or a good friend or whatever that races. And so there are people that kind of travel around to the different events, or maybe they say, hey, we're going to make one South Carolina trip this year because it's such a long trip. We're going to go to make one of those. And, but then also depending on the event and depending on the local sponsorship, sometimes there are some locals that show up. Just depends on how the event is put on.
Can we, if I show up to a race, can I bring a boat and like sit out there and watch like in the water? Or do you have to like kind of stay back on the bank, or can you see it from the bank?
Oh yeah, you can see all of them from the bank. It depends on some of these races. You bring a boat out there, and like the AOF stuff, you can't put even the racing guys can't put their boat in until their class starts, and all that. I'm not sure how many more of those races there will be going on, but I know that all the races that we run and stuff, you're more than welcome to put your boat in and be able to come out there. I do know that some of the races we've allowed in the past for, if you're racing, after you get done racing, you can go back to the bank ordeal, and then you can go back out there. We've learned that just everything's more organized, keep all the racers together until the race is done. But people are more than welcome to come out there and with John boats and hang out, or whatever kind of boat they have, bass boat, anything.
So if you come to the races, are there like vendors and things like that set up out there,
Again, it depends on how the local sponsorship. Like some organizations do a better job of raising money locally. Like we a couple years ago, we ran in the city of Monroe, Louisiana, and it was a DSRA event. Well, I think the city put up like $40,000 or $50,000 in the pot.
Yeah, and
so like there may have been 10 classes, and the way they broke it up was, all right, we had 100 boats entered, and so every boat's going to be worth $100. And so if your class has got 5 boats in it, you get the pot that we're adding to is $500. And so it just depends. Different events, and also where the venue is. Like sometimes it doesn't make sense to have vendors because it's, even though it's an event, it's still on a sandbar. I mean, you can't really bring a food truck now.
Right.
Sometimes there'll be somebody that brings.
Hey, I've seen them serve ice cream on the beach out of the John boat before.
Right. I mean, they probably do really well.
Nick brought crawfish this weekend. He went out there and caught crawfish Thursday, I believe. Came to the Sandbar early Saturday morning, and brought him out there. Brought the buller, brought the pots, and started them at probably 5-6 o'clock in the morning. And he had them ready to go by 10 or 11 o'clock when everybody got out there.
Heck yeah!
So
I was just curious if ever, because a lot of these competition stuff, there's usually vendors, kind of get around and serving food or selling something, or and I wasn't sure if that if that was still the the atmosphere there around y'all's racing events and things like that y'all go to.
We got prop guys. We got especially a lot of their races. What was that one? Was it that one where it's real big, has a bunch of props and a bunch of tents that people are selling?
Yeah, every DSRA race.
Yeah, the DSRA is going to be more of what you're talking about, with vendors and stuff. We're more rednecks, I guess is the best way to put it. I'm talking about it's. I mean, if you look at some of the motor builders, and I mean, it's just we're rednecks. Best way to put it, that love going really fast in John boats.
So if you show up, to one of the races and stuff like that, do the guys that have the boats and stuff, are they like real secretive about what they got, under the hood there? Or?
It's become a lot more, a lot more of a community atmosphere. Back, I started going to. I probably hadn't been racing, but maybe 4 or 5 years. But I've been going to the races for probably 7 or 8 years, and early on, when I started going to the races, they were very secretive, and it's like, oh, you're running this brand of boat. Yeah. Well, I mean, there'd be fist fights over my boat's better than yours, and then we ain't even gonna start talking about whose motor's better. And so, it's gotten to be a lot more of a community.
Yeah.
And a lot of people are talking and, sharing what they've done. Maybe they're not telling you everything, but it's like, hey man, maybe you want to look into going this direction instead of the direction you're going. And so it kind of becomes once somebody sees a gain, some people share it, some people don't. It just depends on how that person or that motor builder feels.
Yeah.
And so there is still a bunch of secretive. I mean, that part of the thing is like, if I build your motor, I'm not a motor builder, but if I was building your motor and you blow your motor up, your motor comes back to me. It doesn't go to somebody else or something like that. So there is still some secretive and still some respect as far as motor builder to motor builder. But for a long time, it was very, very, you're this brand, I'm this brand. And this is my motor builder and this is your motor builder, and nobody talks to anybody. So, but it has changed, I guess, for the better over the last couple of years.
So how many, around here, you was talking about motor builders, how many guys around here actually do that if you got into this sport and wanted a motor built, Like, where would I take it?
Like, within what radius are you talking about?
Oh, I don't know.
You're going to travel.
Yeah.
Travel.
I mean, and there's plenty of good motor builders out there now.
Yeah.
But there's not, I mean, and it's just because of where the need is. I mean, there's not a huge need in North Mississippi.
They don't make money off of it.
Yeah. And also it's
all
not
reputation.
Yeah.
That's all it is reputation. No money in it. They lose money doing it.
A lot of times they lose money because, I mean, you think about, and I put it to somebody this way, like if you go and buy a 1970s model car and you want it built back to brand new, you want it repainted, you want the motor rebuilt, you want this thing to where if I want to get in it and drive it to California, I'm good. It's got air conditioning and all this. How much that's going to cost versus how much it's going to cost to just go buy a new one off the showroom floor.
Right.
And so a lot of times you end up sinking a lot more money into a build versus just going and buying a new motor. But there's not a need for it, and it's got to be somebody that enjoys doing it.
Yeah.
And so there's a need for it in Arkansas. There's a bunch of good motor builders in Arkansas. There's a need for it in South Mississippi. There's good motor builders in South Mississippi, Louisiana. I mean, but there's just not the need up here. Now, I think there may be a few places that do like stock rebuilds and they bore it and hone it, and they put the same components in it that it came with. But as far as getting one modified, there's just not the need here.
So I'm looking at some of y'all's boats, and like the hoods of y'all's boats are not, I see all the vents and the things and stuff like that in them.
Yeah, you have builders also for each motor. Like we're Yamaha guys. I've kind of switched over with Mercury a little bit, playing around with it and all. But when you're a builder, what do you say? 80% of them, 90% of them are just that motor. Like the 90 Yamaha guys really just mess with the 90 Yamaha and the 59 cubic inch Merc guys. Those are the two main motors getting built. And those guys that build these motors really pride themselves on just that motor. So you kind of got to pick and choose. Would you rather have a 90 Yamaha or would you rather have a 59 cubic inch Mercury, and kind of pick which motor you'd want to have and then go find that motor builder for that motor.
So whichever one I buy is going to determine how far I got to travel, have it worked on.
Right.
Yes, sir.
So how much work do y'all do like yourselves? I mean, I'm sure you know you got to know something about it, but I'm sure y'all tinker with them at the house, just.
Oh yeah. 100%.
So how much of that do you do yourself?
I've learned a lot here in the last year. Caleb's helped me. Taylor Hughes has helped me a lot. And come a long ways. He is very smart. He does all the customizing in boats. He helps with all the little parts that people don't really think about.
Yeah.
There's little, like just the solid motor mounts and stuff like that people don't really think about. He does all that stuff. So definitely had a bunch of help from Caleb and my motor builder and some other people, but there's a lot of work that we do, but a lot of it motor wise, I think me and him are kind of the same boat. We kind of just let our motor builder.
I can build right. I can build stuff out of aluminum. It's just I don't want to mess with motor builders. And the way I always put it, like I don't want to do it as a business.
Yeah.
And so I like to know about it, but I don't really need to know all the inner workings of it.
Yeah.
And because like if I'm doing it for a business, people call their motor builders at 4:00 in the morning mad because their boat won't start and they're late to get to their duck hole. And I don't want that headache. If you punch a hole in your boat, there's nothing I can do for you until you get your boat to my shop. And I'm not coming to the boat ramp at 4:00 in the morning to weld your boat up.
Yeah. Well, yeah, I was just curious about that because that was, if somebody was interested in getting into this sport and wanted to, we kind of covered where to find the motors. You just pretty much got to look for them, like you was talking about, and then where to take them once you found them.
Yep.
What do you tell the motor builder when you get there? You have to tell him like weight of the boat and things like that. What you're putting it on. Or
yes, 100%. They really need to know what they're doing. Building a motor for. They're really building that motor for the boat they're putting it on 99% of the time.
It's not as simple as just And it doesn't matter whether you're building a boat motor or a car motor or a truck motor. Like when you get into a racing application, the motor builder should be asking, what do you want to do with it? And what are you going to put it on? Because, I want the baddest motor you can. Okay, that's fine. But it's going to run for 800 foot. And then you better be shutting it off. Yeah. And so it just depends on what you're trying to do. And a motor builder should be asking questions leading up to, not just, hey, I want to build a motor. And they just, okay, here you go. They got to know. And it's that they've got to build that motor for your application. It's not just as simple as plug and play.
Yeah. So. Yeah, because, that's, Will over there, he just recently bought his first boat, and he's playing around with stuff, and him and his buddies, they've already kind of swapped around some stuff here and there.
Oh, yeah.
And I was like, well, I'm pretty sure that's not the same way that'll apply to y'all stuff, but anyways, and a lot of people are probably as ignorant as I am about this stuff, and I was just curious.
There's some bolt-ons that you can do. You can swap carbs, light and flywheel. There's some little tedious stuff you can do. You'll gain 2, 3, 4 roughly mile an hour. You can mess with a bunch of different stuff, but now when you want to get down to I want to either get a hunt board, which is probably what 95% of the guys around this general area are going to want when they go, because they don't have a race rig and a hunting rig, so they want something they can go hunt and then also kind of tinker with on the racetrack. So most of those guys, going to want your 130-pound compression, maybe change up the gears maybe a little bit, maybe run some different type carbs, kind of switch a little bit of stuff up, but still keep it to where the reliability is still there as well.
The hotter you build it, the less reliable generally it becomes, because, you're pushing it to the limit, and if everything isn't exactly right, we joke all the time, we blow them up and fix them up, and the motor that's on the back of my boat, we've rebuilt probably 3 or 4 times in 2 years, because we're pushing it to the limit, and it's not because anybody messes up. It's just you get a piece of trash in your carburetor and leans the cylinder out, and there you go. Gone. Whereas if you're running a stock motor, it's going to damage it, but you can probably hone it and you're good. But again, trying to put all the little pieces together to make a lot more horsepower.
Well, that's cool. That's some good information. And man, I was really intrigued by y'all's, looking at the videos and, looking at what all y'all are doing to boats, and, just, I don't know. I kind of got hooked on it there for a while after Will was, started showing me some of y'all's stuff. And I was like, I don't even know where I would start at if I wanted to do that. Everybody wants to get in the boat and go fast. Right. You know what I mean? So where would I start? And I feel like y'all answered everything. And where do we find information on the races at again?
Most of the races are on the Rowdy Creek pages, the TikTok, Instagram, Facebook, stuff like that. At least the ones that we will be at. You know? So most of those you'll be able to find on Rowdy Creek's social media.
Okay. And y'all, I guess, knowing what to expect when they come to those, you need to pack your own drinks and your own food and stuff like that if you're going to come watch a race.
Yes, sir.
All right. No entry fees, no nothing like that. Is it open to the public?
Is open to the public. Now, racers, some of the events, you have an entry fee if there's a payout for that class. Now, a lot of them, it's just you come out there and it's more of bragging rights. A lot of the Sandbar races are like that. Now, I've always enjoyed, throwing a little bit of money in, even if it is a Sandbar race. And they haven't talked about money. I normally like to try to get, just to make it worth a while, to have some guys out there and it'll add a little bit more competitiveness into it, which I enjoy the competitiveness part of it. So, but yeah, there is no money to go out there and watch or anything like that. Now, some of the like the AOF, I think they charge to get in, don't they?
It depends. Some places I think
Zona, some of the parks.
Yeah.
Like Zona ATV Park in Louisiana, I believe it's a $5. We don't have any more of those this year. That would be next year if the AOF is still going. And I believe it's like a $5, $10 entry fee to get into that park. It's an ATV park, so ATV is going all over the place and stuff. And this next one will be Coattail Lake. So it'll be a campground.
I think they charge a small entry fee. I think maybe $5 or $10 a person, and it's because it's at a park.
Yeah.
And they use that Coattail that he's talking about was a state park in Louisiana that got hit by one of the hurricanes a couple years ago, and so it really had gone way downhill, and then they're really trying to bring it back. And so there's a organization that helps out with that, and they've really catered to the organization that puts on that race. Okay. And so it's a nice place, and they're constantly improving it. I mean, like, so when we raced at Coattail the first time, like, it's a campground, but like half the campground wasn't even open yet because they were still recovering from whatever the hurricane was, and they had limited money to get everything going. But they were, what can we do to help you? I mean, they were very, very open, very easy to work with, and very, very helpful in getting everything going.
Cool. All right. What's the next race coming up? Closest one to here?
I don't think they've released the dates for the Arkansas Tiller Handle race.
They haven't. That'd be the one that I would probably suggest. The next one I do know will be in Clarendon, I believe. The guy running it kind of changes some stuff every now and then, mainly because of the water level in Arkansas right now with all the rain we have been getting. And, also it's good to keep game wardens on your side.
Oh, yeah.
And, trying to get everything together with the game wardens can sometimes be a hassle. So it's kind of one of those ordeals where you kind of work with everything and kind of see where it fits best in, and that's the date you choose. So we don't have the date yet, but I believe it will be in Clarendon, and it'll be sometime next month in June. That would probably be our next one.
All right, cool. Well, that's about all I got for today. Caleb, where can the listeners find you at?
I own a couple different companies. We have Circle S Machine, and we build a lot of different boat parts, a lot of performance parts for various outboards. We've got a company that we do nothing but the flooring in boats, the foam turf. And so that's kind of how me and Noah got linked up. We did a boat for him, and that's Marshdeck, and you can go to marshdeck.com, circlesmachine.com. Okay. So that's where all of our information can be found.
All right. Noah, Rowdy Creek, where can they find y'all at?
We have a website. It's tagged in all. We have TikTok, Instagram, and Facebook. The websites and the link in the bio on all those accounts. But that's where you can find us.
All right. So that's all we got for today. Y'all can find us on TikTok, Facebook, Instagram, YouTube. We got videos coming out. Y'all check us out. You can also find us on the podcast channel. And if you have any questions, feel free to reach out to us. That's all we got. We'll see y'all next time.